Alright guys, another how-to video. Today we are sitting out in front of the garage outside getting some sunlight, some breeze, and this nice warm 100-degree day. We did get to get out on the water this morning. We hit Bullard's Bar. Not Bullard's, yeah, Bullard's, yes, we hit Bullard's today. Nothing spectacular to show you guys, just a bunch of dinks. You know, that lake has the last two spotted bass world records currently, and still currently holds the largest spotted bass in the world, I think it is. But whatever, you'll go out there and you'll catch 1,000 dinks before you catch anything of size out at that place. But anyway, back to the plan. As y'all know, I run power poles on my boat, and they have hydraulic pumps that are tucked way back in there in my boat, which make them a little bit hard to get to. Today I'm feeling a little froggy, so I'm going to show you guys how to change the fluid and clean out those reservoirs in those things, because one of the things that you guys will run into is with power poles is these are hydraulic pumps, so eventually they're going to start making noises, they're going to start getting slow, you know, they're going to start doing this and that. Usually the reasoning for that is because it's dirty and the filter screens inside the pumps are all clogged up, and it's causing the pumps to work harder to get that hydraulic fluid through them. So I've done this once before already to this pole. This pole came on my last boat. This one is one that I ordered extra for it, so I would have two. That one, I'm not sure if the previous owner ever cleaned the reservoir out, because it was screeching bad. And once I got that thing open, the fluid was a completely different color, which I think one of mine, the new pole, is a completely different color right now, because that one's kind of not sealed where I have it, with it sitting right there. That makes the plastic flex when I'm driving, and it makes it leak, so air does get in that one. So that's the one we're going to pull off today and show you guys how to take apart. So hang you guys inside of this bay while I run in and go grab some tools, and we'll get that pump out and get that thing pulled apart. We'll see you in a minute. Whew. It's always tough getting to that one. That one's a pain in the butt to get to. That's why we're moving it also after we finish doing this service on this pump. But Nitro comes with these nice fancy little sliding trays in here. So this is what we're gonna, oh yeah, we're about half full. Where are my cords at? That's my negative wire. I might have to disconnect these. Yeah, that pump, that fluid looks a little dark. So yeah, we'll get this thing all pulled apart here in a second and see what it looks like inside. Alright, so first things first, we're going to disconnect these lines, the blue one and the black one. So one of the things I can tell you is that whenever you disconnect these lines, that pole will drop. So if you don't have the travel covers on it like I do, just make sure there's nothing back there behind it, or secure it up with a ratchet strap or something like that. You're going to need a 9/16 wrench for the actual nut itself, and then you want a 1/2 inch to hold the elbow here so you don't snap the elbow off in the opening. So we're going to get to those. Oh yeah, let that nastiness ooze out of there. If you guys don't know, the blue line is your up line. The black one is your down. The fluid that you're going to be using to replace what's in here is the ISO 32. I think that's what it is. You can use, of course, the, what is it, BioGreen or whatever the actual power pole brand one is, but you don't have to. As long as the fluid that you're using is ISO 32 rated, you'll be fine. And don't get this stuff on your carpet, because if you get this stuff on your carpet, it will leave a nice greasy stain, especially for you guys who have the lighter gray carpets. Fingers. Like the cops or somebody's over there playing a couple streets over. All right, now that that's done, we can get to the screws. There isn't really a recommended time to change this fluid, but if you see your fluid starting to get dirty, you might as well do it. I do them right here in this pan in the back of the boat, so I don't got to worry about disconnecting any of the power wires. I have my main power shut off with my Purge switch, so these don't get power anyway. Well, I have an off and on switch on these as well, so I can turn them off even with power on. They don't have to be on. So that's the 3 screws, and then there's some little tiny baby bolt on this thing that I think the smallest wrench I've got is like a 5/16, and it's even smaller than that. So we're just going to use an all 16 wrench to get this little guy out. Yes, I know this is an adjustable, but an all 16 is what we're going to call it today. And this little guy is not easy to get out. It's just because it's so tiny and it's tucked up under the pump. Alright, there it is. That's what I'm talking about. Little baby guy. All 16ths took care of it though. And then your pump picks up right out of there just like that. And as you can see, this fluid is kind of brown. And just like I was telling you guys, when those things start getting slow and they start making this noise, like look at that sludge that's on these things. You really want to be careful whenever you're cleaning these off, because these filters are paper filters. And, well, it feels like paper. It feels like a paper material. You will tear them if you're not careful. And eventually, once this stuff gets built up enough, this will stop your pump from running. Your poles will start getting really slow, and your pump will burn out because it's working extra hard to get that fluid to your poles when you send them up and down. So it's a good idea just to take these off. I think I've had this one for a year and a half, I think, and this is the first time I've done this. And all in all, it wasn't that bad. I mean, there was some gunk on there, but it wasn't anything that's gonna stop it. Oh no, they did change these ones. These are like a mesh material. But either way, you still want to be careful with them just so you don't tear them or anything, because I think once these get torn, gotta make that parts call to power pole there, and I don't know if they will send you this lower half here, but they might. I've never needed to replace one of these. You got a nice little seal on the bottom there. So you want to make sure this thing's not torn or your thing will leak. So give that a nice little wipe down. And then before you stick it back in, just take your finger, dip it in the new oil, and run it around the ring so it's nice and lubricated before you slide the two halves back together. Alright, well, I'm gonna go dump this nastiness in my oil bucket and maybe get some clean oil in there. What do you guys think? You guys would not believe the cloud of mosquitoes that came off of this thing. I've had this thing sitting over in the corner and it was covered in mosquitoes, but that's how dirty that oil was. A little bit of gunk in the bottom. I'm gonna go wash that out. Alright, so thing's clean. Got a good bill of health. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna purge this hole of the fluid. So we're gonna take this cover off and let it fall, and then we're gonna manually push it back up and squirt all of the fluid that's in there out. Which these things have very little fluid in them. Let's set this here. Better do this with two hands. So they do drop without them hooked up, and as you can see, that pushed out a bunch of fluid. Let's see if I can get the upstroke. There it is. That all hydraulic goodness. What I'm doing right now that you guys aren't seeing is I'm lifting the thing up and down just to push that fluid out. So doing this, it's putting air inside these lines, so we'll have to purge it once I get it hooked back up, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Put that cover back on so it holds it up. And we are gonna need our jug of fluid. This is what I've been using, Mag 1 ISO 32 hydraulic oil. I forget the name of the stuff that Power Pole uses, but I don't have any more of that, and that's quite all right because it says you can use this too still, so that's what we're doing. I'll clean up my mess here. I'll be right back. Alright, so now that we got our mess most of the way cleaned up, we're going to fill this guy full of oil and screw this pump back onto it. There is a line on the inside that shows you where to stop. That is the max fill line, which is right there. You will need a little bit extra after this because once you prime your hoses, the level in this tank will drop a little bit. So make sure you have some spare. We got a little bit left, so we should have enough to finish this one pump, and we'll end up having to do the other pump another day. With that O-ring. Sits in there nice and easy. You shouldn't have to force anything. We'll just put those in there, not tight until we get them all in, and then we'll go back and tighten everything else up. Don't want to make it extremely hard to get that little one in. Little guy, all 16ths, remember that. And we'll start with that one first. There. Tight. 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 And tight. All right, you can hook these up backwards and they will run. It'll just work in reverse order, which will make things a little bit interesting. Let's go ahead and hook our down back up. As you can see, these things have a brass collar on them. You want to make sure that collar is fully seated inside of that elbow, and then run that nut down. We'll run it down, and before we snug it, we'll put that 1/2 inch back on the elbow so we don't snap that elbow back off. Same with this one. Alright, so it's just as easy as that, guys. Let's see, we'll go ahead and purge this thing. Turn power on. And how you do that, let it come back on. You know your pump's on, this thing's flashing. And then you'll take the up button and the down button. You'll push them both at the same time, and then you'll push and hold for, I think it's 15 seconds the pump run for, purging air out of it. And then we'll take the cover off and drop it up and down. It'll stop on its own, so just hold it until it stops. All right, so that's the purge. We're gonna put them down. We're gonna put the pole down, and then do the purge again, put it up, do the purge again. Just how I do it. I'm sure there's probably a different way everybody likes to do, but I just do it a couple times just to make sure all the air's out of it. Stands up nice and straight like it's supposed to. Push the down. So had to put some fluid up in there so you know it's, there it goes all the way down. And we are going to purge it in the down position. It might pick up when you do this just like this one did. All right. Down. And up. Down. You can definitely hear it once that that pump kicks in and really pushes that spike into the ground. You can see the spike flex. But that is it in a nutshell, guys. That is how you clean the reservoir on your power pole pumps. So if you start hearing your pumps making a hideous screeching noise, if they're starting to run slower than they normally run, and if they just, you know, intermittently just not working, pull your pumps apart, clean that gook off the filters that you guys seen, and 9 times out of 10 that'll get you fixed up and where you need to go. Thanks you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.